Good morning, children. Today we will learn Lesson 9 Fagin and His Boys. I am going to read this lesson, children. Please listen it carefully. Okay. Oliver Twist is the first major novel written by Charles Dickens. The novel Oliver Twist tells the story of a boy who had to suffer a lot of troubles. Oliver Twist was an orphan. His mother died soon after his birth. He lived in the workhouse owned by the parish. He was treated very badly and was not given enough food. One day, Oliver ran out of the place. The following lesson is a chapter from the novel. It talks about Oliver's journey after he had run away. Oliver walked more than 70 miles. He carried only a shirt, two pairs of stockings, and a single penny. He was on his way to London. No one, not even Mr. Bumble of the parish, would ever find him in that big city. It was cold and his feet were sore, but he was thrilled to leave his old unhappy life behind. He begged at cottages for food and water and slept in haystacks in the meadows. On the seventh day of his journey, Oliver met a boy who looked about his own age, but who dressed and acted like a man. He was short and bow-legged and had ugly little eyes. He wore dirty clothes and a hat that looked about ready to fall off his head. His pants were baggy and his coat reached down well below his knees. "Hi, young fella," he greeted Oliver. "What are you up to?" "I am tired and hungry. I've been on the road for 7 days," Oliver replied. "Well, come on, I'll give you some food." Jack Dawkins, better known as the Artful Dodger, bought some jam and bread and then took Oliver to a tavern. It was the biggest meal Oliver had ever eaten. "Going to London?" asked Dodger. "Yes," said Oliver. "Got anywhere to stay?" "No." "Got any money?" "No." "Well, it just so happens that I'm going to London too, and I know a gentleman there who will give you free room and board if I introduce you." The boys came to a filthy, bad-smelling street and entered a broken-down house. "Are you there, Fagin?" called the Dodger. "I have a new pal for you." An ugly old man in a dirty flannel dressing gown was cooking sausages. At a table in front of the fireplace sat 4 or 5 boys, none older than the Dodger, smoking long pipes and drinking spirits. The only furniture in the room was a sack The only furniture in the room was a rack in which there were many silk handkerchiefs and some dirty sacks that were used as beds. "That is my new friend, Oliver Twist," the Dodger announced. Fagin glanced at Oliver, who looked confused. Then he drew out a box from a trapdoor in the floor. Inside were beautiful jewelry, gold. Inside were beautiful jewelry, gold watches, bracelets, and rings. "These pretty things are mine," said Fagin nervously. Oliver didn't understand why a man with so many riches lived in such a run-down house. But he thought that Fagin must be spending all his money in taking care of the boys. Oliver washed himself in a basin and threw the dirty water out of the window as Fagin suggested. Then he ate breakfast with Fagin. The Dodger and Charlie Bates. What did you bring back with you this morning? Fagin asked his boys. 4 silk handkerchiefs, said Bates. Ah, I see. You have been working hard. Would you like to be able to make such beautiful things, Oliver? Yes, sir, if you'll teach me. Well, we will teach you, don't worry, the other said, laughing. Oliver didn't see anything funny. He was more puzzled by the game that his friend played after the breakfast. Fagin, Fagin dressed up like an English gentleman and put a wallet, a snuff box, a watch, and other valuable things in his coat pockets. Then he picked up a cane and walked around the room, stopping often as if looking in the store window. The boys followed behind, careful to keep out of sight. When the gentleman stopped, one of the boys stepped on his foot while others removed all the things from his pocket. Then they disappeared before the gentleman could turn around. The Dodger and Bates will be great men, Fagin told Oliver later. Take their advice and do what they do. Now try to take this handkerchief out of my pocket without my feeling it. Oliver did exactly as he had seen the Dodger do. Fagin was proud of him and gave him a shilling. After Oliver had practiced the trick for several days, he was allowed to go out with Dodger and Bates. Children, explanation of this lesson I will do in next class. Okay. So children, please read this lesson at least twice. Okay. Thank you.